Yes, good. Okay, so let's begin. Sahana vavatu, sahano punaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, so I have a really exciting lesson plan today for us. I'm going to read through it. Let me get out of the screen. I sent you a bunch of handouts. I actually sent 2 emails today. Did everybody get that? The 2 emails I sent with the handouts? Say yes. Yes. Yes, okay. Karuna, did you get them? Yeah? Okay, good. Here is my lesson plan. I'm going to read through it. The first thing I'm going to do is just have you open, before I read the whole thing, is just open that Ayurvedic Counselor Education PDF. If you open that, you can use this as a study guide for the national exam for NAMA. This is what NAMA wrote. This is going to be the content of the exam. And today I had devoted to the Ayurvedic psychiatry, emotions, relationship, and behavioral medicine. There's going to be more on this as well coming up in our lesson plan in the spring, but today we're going to just touch upon it. And I wanted you to look at page 14 of the review on Ayurvedic psychiatry. This is sort of what you're going to be responsible for in the exam, so that just kind of read through that quickly. Let me see if I can open it. I have it here too. Page 14. Okay, so this really you can do already. Recommend diet, lifestyle, positive conduct for a healthy mind. Well, almost. We're going to get a little bit further into the mind portion, but at least for the body, you know how you're learning. You're halfway there, diet and lifestyle. And I'm going to talk to you about positive conduct for a healthy mind today. Some really cool things we can do to balance the mind, the doshas in the mind. And let's see, implement and manage a plan to pacify the doshas in the mind. Yes, I'm going to give that to you today. And we're going to talk about the following therapies: prana, tejas, ojas, and how to cultivate sattva, how to pacify the doshas in the mind. I'm going to leave it up to you, the visual therapy, but I will talk a little bit about color. And we're going to be discussing mantra later in the year. Aromatherapy, that is part of the Ayurveda Spa Technician course. So I'm not sure how much we're going to put into this one, but you can find that online. You can get it in a book. It's not a big deal. Even Karuna, you probably know what kind of essential oils you can use for the doshas. Maybe Karuna can do something on that sometime later this year. And then impressions and proper use of food. We're going to talk about that. Proper use of touch, and the effective daily routines. This one I stopped at for a minute. Did Barbara go over the Dinacharya daily routines that Dr. Ladd or Ayurveda recommends, or do we need to go over those? Do you remember if she talked about them? Anybody? Not so much. So the daily routines. So did you ever get a handout on daily routines?
Excuse me, Karen, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's Karuna.
Hi.
Hi, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm having quite a day, and my scooter was taken by the police today here in Mexico.
Wow.
And my friend is coming to get me right now, so I can go and try to get it back. But so I have to leave the meeting right now, but also I don't think that I got the handout that you're talking about.
Okay.
So,
would you send me an email to resend them?
Yes.
Just to remind me when I'm done, because you're leaving the meeting anyway, so you don't need them at this moment, right?
Yeah, no, I won't. But the ones that I got are the Ayurvedic Counselor Education. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, we're looking at that now, page 14.
Okay, then I got that. I'm sorry.
You
Okay.
did? Good, okay. Good, so I'm
Yeah,
sorry about
I'm
your
just feeling
scooter.
a little out of. Oh, that's okay. Hopefully I'll get it back. Hopefully I can just pay someone some pesos.
I hope so. Those pesos sure do come in handy.
Yes.
All right. Well,
Okay. Well, I'm going to stay for as long as I can until she comes to pick me up, but I just wanted to let you know. But I'm sorry to interrupt the class.
no, I'm glad you did. Always just, feel free to chime in if you have a question or have to tell me something. So, okay, thank you. Now, the daily routine, there's a handout that I really wanted you to have. I thought maybe she might have given you one. I'm going to make myself a note to do daily routines with you later. Daily routine, because that's really important. I mean, she might have done it and you guys weren't there that day because there's only 3 of us here today, right? Is there anyone else? Oh, Amber's here. Oh, Donia's here. Great. Okay, so there's more than 3. We have 5 of us. Donia or Amber, do you remember Barbara handing out anything on daily routines or going over what, Dinacharya is, how to, wake up and then the next thing you do and the next thing you do, and a whole routine of the day? Was there anything sent to you? Anybody?
Not as in. No.
No? Okay, I will send something to you. So that will be covered. So we're on page 14 of the Ayurvedic Counselor Education PDF. And then changes to a person's behavior. We're going to go over that. I have some cool ideas for that. And let me move the screen. Diagnosing mental prakruti and vakruti. We're going to do that. We have an exam we're going to take together online today to determine your mental prakruti. So how much rajas, how much tejas, and how much rajas, tejas, and sattva you have. So this is going to be good, too, for you to give out to clients if you want to. And the effects of sensory input on the mind. We're going to talk about all these things, the five senses and misuse and overuse and deficient use and the sense organs. And so we're going to run down this list here, what constitutes a healthy behavior. So I went through, I'm not going to read and bore you to death reading this whole thing, but I went through this whole thing and I'm going to try to touch upon every little bit today, and then we can expand on it later. We're going to talk about the 4 aspects of the mind and the locations of them. And then that is it for Ayurvedic psychiatry. There's not a whole lot on the exam, so we're good. But I do want to make sure that when you take the exam, you know something. You can get through this portion. So I'm going to close out of that. And then today, yes, we're going to do questions and answers, but that will be at the end. I would like to first review the lesson plan for relationships, emotions, and behavioral medicine that's on your curriculum calendar for today. And we're going to talk about the 4 aspects of the mind. I'm going to show you on the head, Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, so you understand the head. We're going to define Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas according to color and daytime, nighttime, really practical things so you can wrap your head around that. And we're going to take an emotional dosha quiz, which is really interesting. Then I'm going to read you a little excerpt from Dr. Ladd's article from 2000, February 2000. He wrote something about becoming a mirror, which is so helpful when you're in a relationship with someone, a romantic relationship, sort of how we are mirrors to each other in a relationship. And it's so beautifully written, especially the way he explains the processes of the mind during the whole concept of becoming a mirror. So it all connects, kind of weaves together all the points in the article that he wrote. It's a quick one, like 2 or 3 paragraphs, but it's profound. I'll read that to you. And then we have mental healing. So I'm going to talk to you about how to break up tamas, how to calm rajas, how to develop sattva and perfect it. And we're going to do some remedies for reducing the emotional doshas that if you have the book Ayurveda and the Mind, you can find this on page 83, which I recommend getting this book, Ayurveda and the Mind. And I'm going to read to you some of those things on page 83. Dr. Frawley, David Frawley, is really the expert on Ayurveda and the mind. All the psychiatry around Ayurveda, he's known as the expert in the field. And let's see, we're going to talk about the misuse of the five senses and how they relate to the sense organs and the actual elements, the five great elements. We're going to talk about the subtle aspects of the doshas, prana, tejas, and ojas, and how to determine their state, how to determine if somebody's low tejas, low ojas, low prana. And then we can talk about the planetary doshas. So each planet has a dosha, and you can kind of tell a personality of the planet. And it's helpful when you know what the lord of your chart is in Jyotish, and you know what is the main planet governing your chart. It gives you an indication of your personality and even which guna might be most predominant, like sattva, rajas, or tejas. And I'll talk about those. And also in relationship, because we're talking about relationships today, it's interesting to know what planet is your mutual connection with your significant other. And if we have time, which, gosh, I don't think we're going to have time to do all of it today. I really wish we did, but maybe in another session we can continue this. But if you want, if you give me your significant other's birthday, I can give you which planet is your connecting planet with that person. And then you can know the personality of the relationship, the flavor of the relationship, and which dosha and which guna might be most prevalent in that relationship you have with that person. It's good to know these things too, so that you can kind of know what to expect in the relationship and the potential of the relationship, the goods and the bads and pros and the cons and all that. And then I also have the 8 great paths to liberation that I thought we could talk about. And we can determine which of the 8 great paths to liberation that each of us has by looking at the Jyotish chart, looking at the planet that has the highest degree, and then that planet would be what governs your spiritual path. And I can talk to you about that path, and it tells you a lot about your personality in a spiritual way. And I just sent out some more handouts on the emotions and the organs, and emotions, doshas, and the taste handout. We might have time to go over that, but if not, then just review that on your own. So that's my lesson plan for today. Any questions before we start? No? Okay. Oh, Jerry's here. Good. Who else is showing up today? Andy's here. Oh, good. Okay. All right. So first thing we're going to talk about are the 4 aspects of the mind. You will have to know this information for the exam. So if you can remember these Sanskrit terms, manas means mind. And Dr. Lett's, one of his most famous sayings or expressions that I wrote down several times in my notebook during the class while I was there in 97 is mind is everywhere. It's in every organ and every cell of the body. It's not just here. The mind is consciousness throughout the whole body. Okay, and then chitta. Have you ever heard of the Sanskrit term called chitta? Anybody? If you've done yoga teacher training, you probably heard it. But chitta is consciousness. And buddhi is the intellect. And ahamkara is the ego. So all these things play out together kind of in a process and sort of step by step, and they feed into each other. And I'm going to explain how they feed into each other. Actually, Dr. Ladd, in his 3 paragraphs, will actually explain how they work together in the process of thinking, how we use manas, chitta, buddhi, and ahamkara. So this is something that he sent to everybody in 2000. And you can see the head there. And you see that the front part of the head is kapha. So if somebody is having headache, they would have it here, would be kapha, if they had it here. And they pointed to you, and mostly the migraines are here, then there's a kapha imbalance, and this is a kapha headache. And if the headache is at the top here, then it's pitta, and if it's back here in the head near the occipital ridge, it's vata. So I thought that would be interesting. And the kapha type of headache can also lead to sinus congestion and have a tamasic quality. And the pitta type of headache can be due to excessive sattva, which is acid producing, acid indigestion, and righteous sort of indignation. That kind of person would have a headache up here. And Vata aggravation has a rajasic quality, believe it or not, and can generate anxiety or constipation. So those emotions are associated with those kind of headaches. All right. All right, so can anyone tell me what sattva means? Did Barbara talk to you about the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas? Can anyone tell me, give me a definition of sattva? I'm opening the chat to see if anyone's... Oh, sattva. Oh. Here I am. I'm just thinking that that Barbara talked to you about these things, so I shouldn't assume that. And sometimes it's written this way. The W and the V are interchangeable. Some people say sattva and some people say sattva. So I don't want to bore you if you've already talked about this with Barbara. Can you just tell me if you have? Anybody? I'm not hearing anything. I'm looking at each of you. I see Amber typing something. Or I don't. Okay, so I'm going to assume that she didn't because nobody is responding. So if you would, I think you would have said yes, she did. Oh, we have. Okay, you did talk about sattva, rajas, and tamas. Okay, so just I will elaborate a little bit on it. Sattva is the color white, can be represented and be created by wearing white, surrounding yourself with white. The frequency of the white color creates sattva. It's kind of like looking at the white moon against the black sky. How do you feel when you look at that white moon? It really calms the mind. And then rajas is red. So when you wear a lot of red color, you'll increase rajas. Tamas is black. If you want to increase more tamas, which I don't know many of us want to increase more tamas, then you would wear black. So sattva can be felt and is most predominant during sunrise and sunset. It is most gentle, peaceful time of the day. It's sort of an auspicious, magical time of the day. Is the sunrise and sunset is when sattva is most present. And it imparts gentleness, balance, peace, and intelligence. So can anyone think of a profession where someone really should be very sattvic? They call it sattvic, is like a adjective for sattva. And you think of a profession that it would be ideal for that person to be highly sattvic. A healer, yes, true. But a healer also has to pay the rent, right? So that's the challenge. So when the healer has to pay the rent, they also need some rajas so they can go to work. They need to have a little fire under their butt to actually have the motivation and stimulation caused by rajas to pay the rent. So ideally, the profession that could be most sattvic would be a priest or a minister. Excellent, Donia. Somebody who is being taken care of by, the Pope or the Catholic Church or, a monk, monastery. Those kind of people who are given donations and charity, they're the ones that don't need a lot of rajas. They don't need a fire under their butt to go out there and make the money and bring home the bacon. They can sit in meditation for hours. They can eat really sattvic food and think sattvic thoughts and wear white. And they work out fine. That's perfect for them. And, there's a lot of people like that in Fairfield, Iowa, who just meditate all day and they're extremely sattvic and that is their goal. They eat rice and sattvic foods all day. And that's good for them. But a lot of them can't pay their rent. And that's trouble. That's problem. Unless they have someone helping them. Okay, so a spiritual teacher, yes, a spiritual teacher, if they are receiving donations. The only way to make money, unless you have an inheritance, really is, you need the actual aggressive nature of Rajas to go out, plan your day, plan, how are you going to pay the bills, all of these kinds of strategies, and, the energy it takes to make it happen, to actually bring in the money, you need Rajas. So if you just, this is where a lot of people made mistakes. I noticed in Fairfield in the domes of meditation, they thought they could be, transcendent and ascend into higher planes and vibrations by wearing white and eating, purely sattvic foods and thinking purely sattvic thoughts and meditating all day, even levitating all day into the ethers. And a lot of them became absolutely misdirected, lost, floaty, spacey, and couldn't pay their rent. And what they decided to do with these people is they decided $700 a month they would pay them to sit in the domes of meditation, which are the domes where they believe they're creating world peace by raising the vibration. So it's called the Invincible America program. So these people, they gave them a place, a home, sort of, in Fairfield. They were great followers of Maharishi, but couldn't pay their rent. So they joined the Invincible America program, where they meditate 7 hours a day, and what they call the movement in Fairfield pays them $700 a month. So they can pay their rent, but they really are living on, that's poverty level. So moving on to Rajas, which is daytime. It can be seen and is most prevalent when the sun is highest in the sky. It's the most rajasic time of the day, most stimulating time of the day, a lot of activity. And when it's out of balance, it can cause egoic personality, jealousy, violence, and just in general, resentment and judgment, criticism, all that. And when we're looking at Rajas, can you tell me what profession somebody would really need to be Rajasic in order to be successful? Can anyone think of a profession example?
Lawyer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's real estate too. You have to be aggressive to get out there and sell. And football player, yes, absolutely, because the life of a football player is right in the Rajasic time, or the Pitta stage of life, and then they got to retire because they just can't do it anymore. And that's more of the Vata stage of life. They just don't have any more Rajas left. So they try to make you as aggressive as possible. Even the Navy SEALs and soldiers that are being trained for war, they have to eat Rajasic food, which would be meat, any kind of garlic, onion, to give them that kick-ass sort of violent, go-get-em, fearless warrior type of food. Those people, yes, they may be groomed for Rajasic lifestyle, and that's what they need, and it would not serve them to be sattvic in that case. But for somebody who's in a balanced job where they really would do well, having a balance of Rajas, Sattva, and Tamas, there are things we can do to balance all of that, what we eat, lifestyle behaviors, and we're going to review that. And if you wear red, like I wouldn't sleep in red sheets. Somebody tried giving me bed sheets that were red, and I have Lord of my chart is Mars, which is sort of Rajasic, so I'm working on reducing Rajas. I have a lot of fire. So wearing red isn't good. Red bed sheets isn't good. Red color around my walls isn't good. Red pillows, red anything. I try not to have a lot of red in my orbit. So we all have to figure out which of the three are you trying to balance, and then look at the colors that you're wearing and surrounding yourself with. So Tamas is black, and it represents the night time of the day. And it is about substance, earth, illusion, the heavy, slow qualities of inertia, apathy. And there's really not that many professions that you need to be tamasic at. Can you think of any? where you just don't move and you're apathetic. And I just can't think of any. I tried to rack my brain, like who would want to try to be tamasic? A mime? I don't know. Maybe.
Karen,
Yeah.
what about someone with mania?
With what? Mania? You mean like the highs and lows of bipolar? Like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I would say more, you would want to balance your more sattva with mania, because sattva actually means balance. So mania is the reverse of balance. But Karen Ortiz said DMV. What's that? DMV. People up a DMV? Is that what you mean? I hate going to the DMV. I would pay someone to go to the DMV for me because I hate going there. So do they need to be, like more tamasic? Maybe. I can't. That's just a joke, right? Because I'm not going to analyze that one. But thanks for that joke. That was good. So tamasic, everybody, really would like to reduce their tamas, really, I would think, because nobody wants to be just a blob, just, who knows, sitting around not doing anything and not feeling anything, totally apathetic. There's a lot of that happens in our culture because of the food we eat. We eat a lot of tamasic food. Can you think of the number one tamasic food that so many people eat and don't even know it? What do you suggest for people who have to wear black to work as a uniform? Oh, Renee. Renee says mushrooms. Yeah, they're pretty tamasic depending on which mushroom. But I don't know if you have to wear black. I would just sleep in white, go to bed and just have white sheets so you can reverse it during the night. All fast food, very tamasic fast food, yes. But one of the best examples of a tamasic food that no one really thinks about is any food that's left over more than 24 hours. So many people eat like 7 days later, still they're eating leftovers from the refrigerator, even though they might not smell bad, but that food has just been sitting there. Any food that just sits is inert and it has tamasic qualities, and you are what you eat. So if you're going to eat leftovers, the prana is gone by that point. And we need prana from our food, hopefully. And that inert quality can cause people to gain weight and just be, bumps on a log and couch potatoes. So really, Dr. Ladd recommends 24 hours, throw the food out. It's growing tamasic, unfriendly bacteria slowly. Okay, let's...
Karen?
Yes?
Can you hear me? What about pre-prepared frozen foods? I think a lot of people eat those.
Yeah, that's a great example of so many people eating frozen food. Frozen food isn't necessarily always tamasic, but it doesn't have any prana. And it could lead to tamas. But the frozen food, the prana is killed in frozen food. And microwave food. Microwave food would definitely be tamasic because the body doesn't even recognize the molecules in the food that's been microwaved because the molecular structure is totally reorganized and almost like a pathogen to the body. The body looks at it and says, oh my God, what's that? And then it turns into ama, toxin, and just kind of free radicals around the body, and it lodges somewhere in a koe gunya, some defective space, and then you start building bursitis and arthritis, and so that's how it happens. But frozen food, really, every now and then, if you're going to have something frozen, get it from a good company, from Whole Foods if you can. And I can't always say Whole Foods is the best, but more likely you'll get something good like Amy's frozen something. I like that Amy's food choices. But if you're going to do that, you just know that you'll just need to do a little more pranayama to get more prana into or sing more, or exercise more, increase your prana. Okay, does that answer your question? I think somebody just used, frozen food was your question, yeah. Okay, so moving on to Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. We just completely finished that. Let's do something really fun. Go to this website. Let me get this cut and paste. Everybody click onto this website, and we're going to take the quiz to see what is your emotional body type. scroll down to the bottom. This is Dr. John Douliard's site, and you'll see the quiz. And what I would do is just do a check, do SRV, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and then check under each one. How many checks you have under each one will be your answer as to which one you're most prone to having. And I'll just give you guys 5 minutes or so to do that.
Did you send it to all of us?
Go to the chat. It's in your chat. It's in your chat. It's actually a link. You got to click on the link that I just sent you. Oh, I sent it to Dee privately. I'm so sorry. That was to Donier. I thought it was to everybody. Hold on. Okay, now it's to everybody. Sorry, it was privately sent to Donier. So just take 5 minutes or so. And this is going to give you an idea. It's a great exercise to start learning about Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. And then I want to hear all your answers. Just take another minute or so. Don't get too caught up in it. The first answer that comes to you is your answer. You guys might want to print this out and use it for your consultations and have your clients fill it out. Anyone finished? Just open your audio and give me a yay or a nay if you're finished.
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay, Donier. Can I ask you, what did you come up with?
Yeah, you can ask.
But
I have a lot of R's.
You don't have to share if you don't want to. What did you say?
I have a lot of R's.
Rajas. Yes, I did too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to go over remedies. Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I have more sattva than I actually thought I would, but I have mostly R's.
Okay, so first was the Rajasic, then secondary sattva, and a little bit of tamas at the end. Okay. Yeah, that was similar. That's a similar way that mine came out. So we'll go over some remedies to help balance it more. Anyone else? Anyone else want to share? I know it might be a little private, but I'd like to know. At least 3 more of you. Could you guys share? Or you're not done yet? Amber, you're not shy. Would you share?
Hi, Karyn.
Hi.
It's Karyn.
Oh, Karyn, yay. What'd you get, Karyn? Karyn, you're not, I can't hear you because you are muted, Karyn. Did you want to share or no? No? Yes?
Mute. Hi, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
It was definitely Rajas, and then it was Tamas, and then Suffolk.
Cool. Did you think that was pretty accurate for you? Does that feel right? Karyn, did that feel like the test was pretty accurate reflection of who you think you are? Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, good. Thank you for sharing that. And let's see, who else is there? Andy, do you feel like, or Jerry, somebody, one more person. Jerry, you want to share?
Oh yeah, I'm just finishing here. It's looking like it's gonna go RST.
Yeah, RST. That's sort of pretty common. Thank you for sharing that. That for America is pretty common. The culture here is very Rajasic, and we are a feisty culture. We go get 'em, survival of the fittest, bigger is better. But India is not so much like that, and so every culture is going to be more Rajasic or Tamasic or Sattvic. But this culture certainly is, Dr. Ladd would say, we live in a Pitta society. So yeah, Tamas and Pitta go together. Okay, so let's look at some. Oh, you know what? Actually, would be really nice. It's a 3-minute excerpt, and I'd like to make you do it while you're with me, because I don't know if you'll do it when we end the session. It's so worth 3 minutes. Just click on Dr. John Douliard. See that little video? He is so amazing. Let him talk to you a little bit about the gunas and how they play out in our lives. Take 3 minutes to do that right now. I'm going to mute myself. So make sure you're muted so that, actually, I'm not even going to do it because I already listened to it over and over. So take 3 minutes right now and listen to Dr. John Douliard. Everybody done? Will you just send me a yes or no, or nod your head if you're, have you finished? No? Okay. Good? Okay, we're almost done, everybody? Okay, good. All right, so now you get a feel for Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva and how it relates to the personality, the mind, the way we think, and some things for mental healing I'm going to read to you right now to help balance Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas in the mind. To break up Tamas, because you know Tamas is just a blob. It's in there. So you want to break up Tamas, and by doing that, you would develop a little more Rajas, and you would move from mental inertia to self-motivated action. So in other words, you would need to get somehow self-motivated, and there's ways to do that, like eating more Rajasic food, kind of wake you up a little, doing more Rajasic activities, running, exercise, like that. And to calm Rajas, some people are overly Rajasic, like, you know, prison guards, people in prison, violent people, gangsters, mobsters. To reduce the violence in the Rajas, or, you know, overly critical people, judgmental people, what they would need to do is develop more Sattva, and they would need to move from a self-motivated action to more of selfless service. So really what helps those people, and who would have thunk, is, you know, devoting time, you know, in the soup kitchen, or helping at the Boys and Girls Club, or I used to go over my neighbor's house next door as an old man, had nobody to talk to. He's like 85, and, you know, he had interesting stories, but I'm always a busy person, so it's hard for me to just sit and listen. But I used to do that, a sort of selfless service. I used to go next door and just sit with this guy named George, and he was so happy to have company and to have someone to listen to his stories. So that was selfless service for me. You know, I got a little bit out of it, but I like to bring joy to people. But, you know, helping old people, helping children, old people, and people who are sick, of service to them. This can help you create a sattvic nature. Donating your money to charities will create that sattvic nature, and also eating sattvic foods like khichdi, vegetables, soft vegetables, green foods that are slightly steamed. You know, the fibery foods, the raw foods, can cause a little bit of rajas because there's so much rough quality. So soft foods will create sattva. And then perfecting sattva, you would move, you know, people who are already sattvic, if they even want to be more sattvic, like the monks and the priests, they would move from selfless service to meditation and levitation. So I don't know too many people around me that need that, but they're out there. So what I'd like to read to you about relationships is it's really helpful if you're in a relationship with someone, a love relationship with someone who is equally sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic to you. So it's really quite difficult to be in a relationship if you're very sattvic, but you're in a relationship with a tamasic person, or a rajasic person. They'll run you over. If you find someone who's equally rajasic with you, you see the world through the same lenses, you'll get along, more compatibility. If you're overly rajasic, the two of you, it's going to be really explosive. You'll fight, and there'll be, you know, a lot of violence. It's like having two suns in one house. There's only one sun in the universe, and that's for a reason. So if you're overly rajasic, it would be good to get someone who's rajasic with maybe just a little more sattva or tamas to balance you off. So now that you start to get that, how to balance your own self off with the people who you surround yourself with, then you make better choices. So let me read to you about how Dr. Lett explains about the 4 aspects of the mind and becoming a mirror in your love relationships. And remember, the 4 aspects of the mind are manas, chitti, buddhi, and ahamkara, the ego. So this is a beautiful little article. I could just read it over and over, and it just is so inspiring for me, because so many people have love relationships that can just become toxic because they end up projecting and pointing and never being accountable, and it just becomes a war zone. So here he writes this: watching your thoughts then becomes a practice when you become a mirror. So the idea is to become a mirror. So watching your thoughts then becomes a practice. I'm sort of jumping from, he wrote a long, huge thing, but I'm just taking a snippet out of it. In the act of looking, you're simply standing away from the traffic of the mind and you're watching the traffic. When you're aware, you are watching. When you settle in the watching process, then watching acquires your consciousness. 50% watching, 50% thoughts, 90% watching, only 10% thoughts, and then 99% awareness. You're settled in watching, and only 1% of thoughts will come. Does that make sense? Do I need to read that again? Because that was pretty confusing. I had to read that one 3 times. Did you want me? Anybody want to hear that again? Say yes. Yes? Okay. That was,
Yes, please.
yes, that was a mouthful. Okay, I'll read it slowly. When you settle in the watching process, then watching acquires your consciousness, semicolon. He writes 50% watching, 50% thoughts, 90% watching, only 10% thoughts, and then 99% awareness. You're settled in your watching, and only 1% of thoughts will come. So it's sort of a process he's describing. That means you are moving from the mind, manas, into buddhi, the intelligence, into smrti, which is memory, and into ahamkara, the ego. Then what happens? He writes, this is the inner journey. When you are settled 100% in awareness, in watching the movements of your thoughts, then you become a mirror. To become a mirror means to have no judgment, no reaction. When an ugly man looks into the mirror never reacts. The mirror does not crack. Even when a beautiful woman looks into the mirror has no reaction. This is your great achievement when you are settled in your watching 100%. You become a mirror, and the mirror is completely empty. So the mind is empty. And this is pretty challenging. You pretty much have to be Buddha to keep this going for your whole life. You know, you're going to fall in and out of moments of this sort of liberation, and then you may fall down into illusion and, start reacting. But ideally, if we could all live like this, there would be no war. So let me continue reading. When you become a mirror, you then mirror your relationships. When your girlfriend or boyfriend is angry with you, you do not react, but you look within the mirror and see yourself. You can say to yourself, perhaps she or he is right. I do not know what mistakes I have done. But very few people admit their mistakes in a relationship. In relationship, the other person is always at fault and you are perfect. When you judge the other person, that judgment cracks the mirror. And that mirror no longer reflects a true image. A dog may look into the mirror, and the mirror reflects exactly as the dog looks. When you have an uncracked mirror, then you are the mirror of your own life, and do not judge other people. Do not judge even yourself, for judgment cracks the mind or the mirror. Wasn't that beautiful? Does anyone get inspired by that? It's so moving. It's really how to have a relationship, really a successful relationship, is to always look within. When you point, you have 3 fingers pointing back in at you. So before you start accusing your partner of something that's upsetting you, first look within yourself to see what it is in you that might be bothering you, that may be projecting onto that person. Does that make sense? So sometimes you'll say, you're so controlling, you're so suffocating. First, just before you start accusing, look within and see, is there any aspect of me that is that, before I can start rightfully calling someone else something? And you might discover that you might be controlling or suffocating and not even realize it. So really, you can't just feel it and then rattle it off. what Dr. Lett is saying is first be the mirror and look here, and then discuss without the reaction, because the reaction and the judgment breaks the mirror. Then discuss sort of in a balanced way, a non-reactive way, how you feel, and see where it goes with the partner instead of blowing up. Two Rajasic people are going to have a really hard time with not cracking the mirror, right? So, yeah, if you're a Rajasic person and you're with a Rajasic person, this is a good practice for you guys to start looking within first and owning your stuff. It's not easy. Okay, so let's move on. If you want a copy of that, I will scan it. Let me know and I will send it to you. Okay, some remedies for pacifying Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, and the doshas, and some mental activities. This is pretty cool from this book, Ayurveda and the Mind by Dr. Frawley. I think I showed it to you earlier. So you might want to take notes on this. I couldn't really scan the whole thing into my computer. So or you can listen if you want to just listen. Sometimes, listening is more effective than writing things down. So it's up to you. When I was studying at the Maharishi University, they did not want us to take notes. We got in trouble for taking notes, which was a really unique way of an education, because they believed that we learn more when we are fully present and not, we do move out of the right brain into the left brain as soon as we start putting a pencil on paper. We do a shift in the hemispheres of the brain. So start noticing. If you want to take notes, go for it, but there is something to just listening. Okay, so how to reduce Vata, which would be also some Sattva, because Vata and Sattva are sort of intimately connected. Sitting or walking quietly, peacefully by a garden, forest, river, lake, or ocean, particularly where it is warm and bright. Calming music, chanting, classical music, peaceful silence. Touch. So gentle, warming touch or massage using warm oils like sesame and almond. Bright and calming colors like golden, orange, blue, green, and white. Taste would be rich and nourishing foods abounding in sweet, salty, and sour tones with moderate use of spices. The smell would be sweet, warm, and calming, and clearing fragrances like jasmine, rose, sandalwood, and eucalyptus. The activity to reduce Vata would be gentle exercise like hatha yoga, tai chi, swimming especially is best. I don't know why he put hot tubs in here, because that's not an activity, but I'll take it. Don't stay too long in the hot tub because that'll increase rajas. Relaxation like meditation and more sleep. Believe it or not, the more you sleep, the more your Vata will calm, the more Sattvic will rise. So emotional. So cultivate peace, contentment, fearlessness, patience, releasing fear and anxiety, having the support of good friends and family with regular social interaction. All right. And then the last thing he writes about cultivating sattva and pacifying is spiritual meditation on strong, benefic, happy, or peaceful deities like Rama or Krishna, or protective forms like the Divine Mother, Durga, or Tara, or the Divine Father, prayers for peace, protection, developing discrimination, and insight. These are things that will help reduce Vata and excessive sattva. Actually increase sattva. Okay, so here's some things that we as a Rajasic and Pitta society need to do. So you might take notes on this, mentally at least. Sitting or walking by flowers, or having flowers on your desk or your table. Walking by flowers is really good, believe it or not, for Pitta. Walk near rivers and lakes and oceans, particularly when it's cool. Walking at night, gazing at the night sky, moon bathing, and gazing at the stars are very cooling for Rajasic natures and soothing. Soft music like the sound of flutes and the sound of water. cooling, soft, and moderate touch and massage with cooling oils like coconut and sunflower. Colors like white, blue, and green. Surround yourself with those calming colors. Even I choose my bed sheets very carefully because you're spending 8 hours at least in your bed. You may as well do some color therapy while you're sleeping. I only choose white, blue, or green sheets to sleep in. You'll notice you may get nightmares, Pitta nightmares if you sleep in red or bright orange, really overstimulating colors that will affect your sleep. Taste, food that is neither too heavy nor too light, abounding in sweet, bitter, astringent tastes with few spices, so sort of bland, that are cooling like coriander, turmeric, and fennel. And sweet fragrances. So if you don't know what essential oil to put in your bathtub or what essential oil to wear or what fragrance, if you want to keep yourself calm and soothed, choose rose, sandalwood, champak, I don't know what that is, gardenia or jasmine. I love gardenia and jasmine. So what kind of activities should someone do who is Rajasic and they're trying to keep their Pitta balanced and their Rajas balanced? Well, he says walking, swimming, cooling asanas like shoulder stand. And emotionally, he recommends that we cultivate friendships, kindness, courtesy, promoting peace, forgiveness, compassion, and devotion, releasing anger, however you can, through maybe automatic writing or talk therapy or swimming, movement, however you release your anger, resentment, conflict, and hatred. Releasing all those emotions the best you can. Everyone has their own way of doing that. And then here's some great mantras for reducing Pitta. Shrim, Sham, Ma. Shrim, Sham, or Ma. Practicing non-judgment and acceptance. Listening to others people's points of view. That's a big one. A lot of Rajasic people just can't listen. And if they do, they're just pretending and they're just looking at you and they're not really hearing anything you say. But if you really force yourself to listen to somebody really compassionately and fully, you will be soothing your own Pitta and your own Rajasic qualities. So it's very, very healing to both the person that's being heard and to you. So spiritual meditation on benefic and peaceful deities like Shiva, Vishnu, benefic forms of the Divine Mother like Lakshmi, prayers for universal peace, and cultivating surrender and receptivity. Okay, and then here are some kapha reducing things. People who need a little more stimulation, a little bit more, maybe you lose weight, a little more inspiration to get going. These are things they should be doing. Vigorous hiking or walking in a dry desert regions, high mountains, or on a sunny, windy day in open areas. They should be listening to stimulating music, strong, energizing sounds, singing joyfully. Strong, deep body massage with dry powder or stimulating oils like mustard. I have a great mustard bath that I think I showed you guys. It's this powdered mustard bath that it's got eucalyptus and it's really stimulating. I put it in the bathtub and it just wakes me right up. It's a great morning bath, and sometimes I use the powder on some muscles that I feel are tamasic, that are just sort of toxic, and it wakes the muscle up and moves the pain out. So if you want, I'll send that to you. If you want some of that, I'll tell you where to get it again. Where did I leave off here? Mustard powder, I love. Okay, so for therapy on the skin. Bright stimulating colors like yellow, gold, red, and orange. The taste should be pungent, bitter, and astringent with liberal use of spices. Occasional fasting, actually, will stimulate people. Like a whole day of just, no food and maybe fruit juice or vegetable juice with ginger. The smell should be light, warm, stimulating, penetrating fragrances that are kind of wake you up. Those kind of fragrances like musk, cedar, myrrh, camphor, eucalyptus, they kind of just give you a zing. Activity should be strong aerobic exercise, jogging, sunbathing, wind bathing, saunas, and reducing sleep, believe it or not. So the emotional things that we should be cultivating are detachment, service to others, and selfless love, releasing greed, attachment, and clinging. So a lot of those people in relationship they kind of glom onto you, they cling onto you, these people are overly tamasic. And these are things they need to do so they don't cling on to you. Or if you're a clinger, these are things you need to do. I should explain to you after, the personality types that who you're in relationship with by some of their actions. Remind me to tell you that in a minute. It's kind of fun. So mental, the mental things you should be doing, like mantra, should be Aim, Cream, Hum. Hum. Aim, Cream, Cream, Hum. Cultivating wakefulness, mental exercises like chess. I hate chess. But if you like chess, go for it. Breaking with the past and with tradition. So breaking up the past, breaking with the past and with tradition. I don't get that. Breaking with the past. Maybe just not hanging on to old stuff, probably letting go, detaching. I'm imagining that's what he means mentally. And then spiritually, he wants people to meditate on active, wrathful deities, including strong forms of the Divine Mother like Kali. You've seen a picture of Kali? She's got like blood hanging out of her mouth and the head of 6 or 7 dead men, and she's really a kick-ass goddess. And sometimes we need a little Kali in our lives. So the Divine Father, like Rudra, it comes from, never mind, I won't get into that. Meditation on the void or inner light. Meditation on the void or on the inner light. Okay, so that comes from this book. If you want to get it, it's such a good book. So to know what kind of relationship style do you have, I will tell you that people who are more Vata personality types, when they're in relationship, will be more needy, desperate. They will cling on out of fear. So there is a difference between clinging on out of fear and clinging on out of attachment and hoarding, that kind of thing. That attachment and that hoarding and clinging and smothering and suffocating and glomming onto somebody, that's kapha. Too much tamasic quality. And those people need to be on anti-kapha diets, anti-tamasic lifestyles and mental activities. And the pitta people who you're in relationship with, they're the first person that they want to break up right away. They're ready to walk out the door. They literally will have everything packed up and leave and slam the door behind you. They are quick to hang up on the phone. They'll hang up on you. And they'll threaten you always 1 foot out the door. These people are ready to go. So it's interesting to observe your spouse or significant other. What relating style do they have? And how can you stay balanced? How can you recognize these styles and then help your mate stay balanced? What kind of foods can you feed them to make them less clingy or less ready to go out the door? These are really important things to understand about your mate. Will help your relationship and help the dynamic of your relationship in the end. Okay, so let's move on. Does anyone have a question? I'm really rambling here. Nobody's saying anything. Any questions? I'm looking around at all of you. No.
Karyn, I had a question.
Yeah?
So naps are not supposed to be so good, but what if, you're very, Rajas and you want to sort of calm down a little bit? Wouldn't having like more regular naps be better?
Yes, so that's a really good question. People who are overly acidic and their pH is just acidic and they have a lot of fire, inflammation, these are pitta people or have an excess of pitta. They need a nap. So when you lay down, horizontal position, and you really rest your organs, you're actually allowing the body to alkalize. So, and that will remove the acid and it will calm the body. So it's really important as one of the protocols for your very Rajasic and Pitta people. So maybe something like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, from 3 to 4 is a really good time to do that for a Pitta person. But those people who are Tamasic and Kapha, trying to lose weight, and have a lot of apathy and attachment, those people, if they nap, they're going to gain weight. So that is not a good thing for those kapha people to nap. They need to force themselves awake, and they really should only sleep 6 to 7 hours, even 5 hours at night. If they sleep longer than that, then they're going to wake up heavy and be more tamasic all day. But those pitta and vata people, we're more catabolic. We need more sleep, especially in the winter. We need a little, like an extra hour or two at night for us to feel calm and for us to not have to break down, because, it's a catabolic thing, vata and pitta. So sleeping will help build our ojas and our immunity. So sleeping is really important for those catabolic people to get enough sleep. Okay, did I answer your question? Yeah, good. Okay. Let's go on to my lesson plan. Read that. Effective use and misuses of the 5 senses. Okay, this is a good one. So, again, I don't want to bore you if Barbara already talked about these things, but stop me if she did. But ether is, one of the great Pancha Mahabhutas, which are the 5 great elements. It's the most subtle element. It's the subtle aspect of air, and it is connected to sound. So sound, you couldn't hear anything if we didn't have ether. So that's why when we go out into space, we hear Om. That's why Alexander Graham Bell tuned into that same sound. Wherever he went around the world, tuned into space, he kept hearing Om. And he realized it was just the sound of ether. And when somebody has problems with sound, their ears or their vocal organs, the voice, the ether element has become imbalanced. So it's really good to know if you've got a client in front of you and they're having tinnitus or ringing in the ears, ear trouble, vocal cord trouble, the ether element has gone out of balance. And now we can increase more imbalance with ether if someone is forced to listen to loud music or abrasive music, or if somebody is in a relationship where the other person is constantly yelling loudly. Your ether elements will be increased and your nervous system will break down. Loud noises living in a city, it's going to disturb ether elements. So really, sound is so important to balance the ether elements. Choose your music carefully. Choose who you talk to carefully. Choose your environment carefully to keep your ether balanced. And then air is the element that is responsible for touch. It's the sense of touch. So the organ related to that is the hand. And if somebody has been touched wrongly, maybe they were beaten up, raped, maybe they had sexual abuse, incest. Think of all these ways that people touch each other in a abusive, wrong way. This can whack out the air element. This can make the air element become accumulated in the body and throws out the dosha, the Vata dosha. Both ether and air belong to Vata. So if somebody tells you in a consultation that they have been abused and touched wrong, or they've been in many fights, say they're an aggressive guy that's always getting beaten up, something with the air element is going to be off with them. Okay, so fire element, this is connected to the eyes. So, fire coming out of your eyes, if someone's really angry, the fire will just burn out of their eyes at you, and they can then burn a hole right through you with fiery, feisty eyes. And believe it or not, the feet are also connected. I remember Dr. Ladd said that if you put castor oil on the soles of your feet every night, it will increase your vision and your eyes will become stronger. So that's in the ancient texts, and there is a real connection between feet and eyes. So how do you disturb the fire element in the body, or how would you know if somebody has a disturbed fire element when you're sitting in front of them? As a counselor, somebody comes in with these like bottle glasses, those bottle thick glasses, or constantly have had eye surgery, glaucoma, or eye problems in general, there's going to be a disturbance in pitta. Somehow there will be an increase in pitta in their body, and that's something you can sort of check off as you're trying to determine which dosha is the one most out of balance. Okay, so, it's really interesting that, I don't want to move on from fire yet, but you should really be careful what you look at. So you can heal your eyes and the fire element by gazing at a candle, watching the blue flame in the candle. This is an actual therapy. You should be 12 inches from the candle and you just gaze at that candle or a fire in front of the fireplace, just gazing for, try not to blink your eyes. Keep your eyes open as long as you can and just gaze. And this will help heal your eyes dramatically and calm your mind. Now, if you are looking at violence all the time, like I had a boyfriend that just wanted to watch violent shows all the time, and I would just have to put up with, hearing screaming and yelling and then watching this violent activity. I just can't. I'm too sensitive for it, and it really affects the mind. It leaves an impression on the mind, and it can disturb your own pitta. So really be careful what you watch on TV, what you look at. And if you go to a scary movie, I just won't look sometimes. I'll go, tell me when it's over. Because, it's just too much for my fire element to see that stuff. I try to stay in balance that way. And as a healer, we need to keep ourselves balanced and really watch what we see, watch what we touch, be mindful of all of our sense organs, keeping them in check. And then the water element is through the sense of taste and the tongue as well. That's the organ. And the reproductive organs actually are associated with taste and the water element. So if somebody's water element is off, they will have, for example, water belongs to pitta, right? So, and it belongs to kapha too. So somebody who has a metal taste in their mouth, have you ever had a metal taste in your mouth and you're wondering what is that taste in your mouth? Usually like a metal taste like that can mean that somebody has too much pitta in the stomach. And if someone has a bad smell to their, like a bad taste and smell, their digestion is off, which is, a pitta problem as well. And if someone's not tasting at all, they have dry mouth and probably they have dehydration. So their lack of water can tell you that there may be some Vata accumulation from dehydration because you can't taste without the saliva. And then, have you ever been really sick? It's just happened to me. When I get really sick with a really bad flu or something like bronchitis or a fever, if I get a fever, I tend to get excess salivation in my mouth. And sometimes I remember it's kept me awake. It's so strange that I would be producing so much saliva while I was in bed that I would have to wake up to swallow. It's bizarre. And Dr. Lett explained why that happens, because the water element is in excess from too much pitta in the body. So a lot can be determined by just asking people about their sense organs. And anything they can share with you, you can start to really get what's going on, how the doshas are playing out in their body and in your own body. And then we're going to look at earth is smell. So smell and nose and the elimination organs. So if somebody's smell is off or someone has a cute smell, a really good smeller, these people will be really sharp pitta. Pitta also has connection to smell. Dr. Lett always said that if somebody can't tolerate certain smells, they have an imbalance in pitta. I don't know why that has to do with the earth, but that's what he used to say. There must be some logic to it, but I never really figured it out. I just know it's true. And yeah, somebody has a question?
Yeah, I have a question. I thought because I was half blind that I had a cute smell, but it's really just because my pit is crazy.
Well, when one of the senses is weak, other senses make up for it. So it's that too, but your pitta might be also, sensitive. So like those markers on a whiteboard, Dr. Ladd couldn't do the whiteboard very often. He would take a break from it because it disturbed his Vata and his pitta by smelling the marker smell. It just disturbed him terribly. Caused him to be spacey and aggravated. So smell. So if somebody has trouble in the elimination organs or in the nose, they have a nose problem. I can't think of a nose problem, but maybe a deviated septum, dry nose, maybe. Anyways, just know that organ is connected to the earth element and the sense of smell. So you can start making your investigation and research on that person. Just check, okay, something's up with the earth element, smell is off. Or check something's off with the fire element, their eyes are not good, or, like that. So that's how you can use this practically as you're doing your consultations. Does anyone have a question about how the organs are connected to the doshas and to the senses? I sent out something. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that the colon, right, if people have a hard time smelling, isn't it mean their colon's clogged? And they have bad breath?
It's possible. I never heard that, but I would imagine yes, because it's an elimination organ. Yeah, that's a good point. So a constipated person won't smell well. Wow, good to know. So you could ask that question if somebody says, I don't smell things very much. My sense of smell is really weak. You might ask right away, are you constipated? Yeah. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so any other questions before I move on to, we only have 15 minutes left. I was going to talk about prana, tejas, and ojas, but I think Barbara already covered those. And the planetary doshas, I'm just looking at my lesson plan here, and the 8 great paths to liberation, determining which is yours. That we can always add into another Jyotish session. But if there are no questions, I can review the planetary doshas and which planet has what personality and is connected to which dosha. So does anybody have a question before I continue? I told you to bring your questions in an email with sort of a review. If there's anything pressing that Barbara went over or anything I went over or Mike Dick, you can ask your question now. Anybody? I don't see anybody jumping to ask a question. No? Not one question from the whole 3 months that we've been learning? Okay. Okay, or is it that you want to hear about the planetary doshas? Yes. Okay. All right, that is more fun, I think. Let's talk about that. So Mercury is it's a Vata planet. So if you have Mercury, Lord of your chart, which you're going to find out when I do your Jyotish, I will send you something on your Jyotish, I promise. I think 3 of you already have it. But you already know this maybe by looking at your chart, the Lord of your chart. So if you know what the Lord of your chart is, then we know what planet is governing your chart. And then you kind of know which dosha is predominant in your body, and you might even know from there, are you more Rajasic, Sattvic, or Tamas? So all of that leads to these things. If you can just know the Lord of your chart, we can get more information. So does anyone know the Lord of their chart and what planet governs their chart? Because every planet, so Aries, for example, if Aries is Lord of your chart, you have Aries ascendant, that is Lord of your chart. And the ascendant is always the Lord. And then we look at Aries, and Aries is governed by a planet, and that planet has a dosha, and the dosha is connected to the gunas. So there's a lot to know. We can see a lot in our own personalities and other people's by just learning about the ascendant. Does anyone know what their ascendant is and want to know what planet? Because I can tell you right now.
I thought mine was Mercury because I have Virgo as my ascendant.
Yeah, yes, very good. Mercury, so you'd be tending toward more Vata, but Mercury is the chameleon, so it's going to be mixed doshas according to the season. It's not as easy to pinpoint. You kind of, whenever you're around somebody, you'll tend to be like them, or whatever season you're in, you'll tend to be accumulating more of that season than somebody else. So a mercurial person just kind of goes with the flow of what's around them, but more Vata than anything. Yeah, so anyone else?
Sagittarius?
That's Jupiter. So Jupiter is pure kapha. It's a big fat kapha planet. And it is great immune system. So great immunity, and you live a long time. The guru. It's the guru. It means, actually, Jupiter means guru in Sanskrit. That can cause tamasic nature, though, so you have to be careful not to get caught in tamas if you have Jupiter, Lord of your chart, which is Sagittarius and Pisces are both Jupiter. Anybody else want to know? Because I have the whole thing right here. I can just tell you if you have your chart open. Karyn Ortiz said Jupiter. Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay, so it's also really interesting to know what kind of planetary connection you make with your partner. So I can do maybe just one or two of you if you want, or, because we are almost done, if you have the birthday of your partner, I can give you a planetary connection, so that will give you the flavor of the relationship, pros and cons of the relationship, even to tell you, if it's an enduring relationship or not. I can help you with that. That won't take long. And then it takes a little bit for each person. So that would probably take us like 30 minutes to get through. So we could only do one or two right now. Or we can talk about the 8 great paths to liberation, which is your personality type. It's very insightful to know what yours is and what your partner's is, or even, knowing my daughter's personality type was really interesting. Her spiritual path helped me understand her better. She has Jupiter as her spiritual path. She likes to give. She's a giver. She wants to help people. She does selfless service. She really will light up when she sees somebody that she can help. Like, she gave her lunch money to somebody at school one day. She was in the lunch line, and this little girl was crying because she didn't have a lunch. And so Jada gave her lunch money. And this is something that made her really happy. Jada, she got off on it. She was just so ecstatic all day. She talked about what she did and how happy she made the other little girl. And so this is her spiritual path, was when she can help with, assisting people across the street, like an old lady across the street. She'll go out of her way to help. She volunteered at mentally retarded home, which, it's really challenging, but she really loved that. It made her happy. And I'm not that. I'm not Jnana yogi. I'm more about the intellect, learning, higher education. That is what lights me up. So when she's, helping people on the lunch line with their money, that's like the last thing I'd want to do. So it's good to know yourself. Know yourself. Are you one of those people? Are you going to help the old lady across the street? Or are you the one that's going to be, involved in education and learning and intellect and consciousness? Actually, is Jnana Yogi. So, do you want to know what your path is, everybody? If you have your Jyotish chart, I can tell you. Yeah. Say yes. Just shake your head. Yes. Yes. Okay. So look at your Jyotish chart and look at the degrees of the planets and find the planet that has the highest degree. The highest degree will be 29, I think, 29. So if you have one at 29, that's probably your spiritual path right there, that planet, and then I can tell you about that planet.
Karyn, I have the sun at 1444.
Is that your highest degree? Is 14? 14 is kind of in the middle.
Oh, no. Actually, I have K2 at 19.
That's your highest degree? All the planets is K2?
No, my ascendant, I think, is 20. Oh, wait. Which numbers? There's a lot of numbers.
They're in the middle of the house.
Oh.
You see those? They're either like 0.1 to 29. Those are degrees?
It's my ascendant, then the Sagittarius is 2746.
Don't look at your ascendant. Look at the planets. Just the planets, like Mars, Jupiter. I'm going to go over them quickly, and then if we want, we can talk more about this later. But the physical body is the path of Hatha Yoga, and that is governed by Saturn. So if you have Saturn as the planet that's highest in the degree, then you're a Hatha Yogi, and your path to liberation is through silence and physical purification, doing juice fasts, meditating, being alone, doing self-exploration. It resonates to the number 1. So it's very much a loner. You do well alone, and you light up when you get to be alone and meditate and purify the body and the mind. So that is somebody who's a Saturn spiritual path. And then the other one, let's see, the next one is a Raja. The Raja Yogini is a path of the senses, and it's Venus. So Venus, if that's your highest degree, you're a Venusian, and spiritually Venusian, and you'll really get off, and your spiritual path to enlightenment will be through the arts and music and the senses and touch, even tantric sex, anything visually appealing. All the 5 senses need to be stimulated for you to reach liberation. You will find yourself lighting up when you are stimulated through your senses. And then let's see, the mind, the path of the Karma Yogi. That's my daughter, the path of selfless service. She's a Jupiterian spiritually, and those people just like to give to people. They just, almost to a fault. And the problem with the Karma Yogis are that they give past their boundaries. They give at their own expense, and they have to learn not to overgive and to only give so much until they're depleted. They need to learn their boundaries of depletion. That's a big challenge with the Karma Yogis. Okay, and then the path of the intellect, path of discernment is, I told you that was Jupiter. Jupiter was the mind. So going on to the intellect is Mercury. So it's Buddha. And if you have Mercury at the highest degree, then you're a Gyan Yogi. Gyan Yogi is about the intellect, higher learning, consciousness, studying, books, education. These are the things that will really light you up and help you get to your own liberation. And that includes consciousness, includes meditation. So it's similar to the Saturn, where they really like to meditate. It's similar to Saturn, but it's not quite the same. And then we have the path of the warrior. That is the path of the will, also called the Kundalini Yogi, and that is Mars. So if you have Mars highest in your chart, the degree is highest, then you're a warrior spiritually, and by protecting your country, protecting your town, being a police officer or in the military, or just somebody who wants to protect other people all the time, looking for a chance to be the protector, this is what will light them up and bring them to liberation. So we have to allow everybody to do their thing, and this is what's so beautiful, is everybody is so different, so that there's room for all of us, and to understand all of us and what gets the other one off. We're all going to be so different, so we have to allow for everybody's differences and just accept them, and understanding them is really amazing. Then you can just sort of understand where you fit in the world. And the next one, yeah?
So I think mine is in Mars, and that's why I'm such an activist, and I want to save the planet.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Yes. Yes. You want to protect, the planet, protect people, and it's aggressive. So it's like the warrior. You will take action. You will fight.
Yeah, it's been a little hard because I want to be all peaceful and everything, but I'm totally not.
You're a spiritual warrior. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we need spiritual warriors. There's a reason that you chose that, so go for it. The path of the heart is the devotional yogi, the bhakti yogi. So path of the heart, those are the people that are devoted to Mother Maya, or who's that hugging saint, Amma, they follow Amma around and they get hugged every day by Amma, or people who are devoted to Mother Mary, or they pick a deity and they're so devoted, or they sing devotional songs all day long, do the rosary beads, and so these devotees, or whatever you want to call them, that's what lights them up, to be able to devote themselves to something higher purpose. And it even can be non-religious. I've met people who are bhakti yogis in relationship, and they actually use their wife or their girlfriend as who they want to devote themselves to. Or a dog, I've even seen it, that their dog is what they devote themselves to. And that's fine, but that will bring them to liberation, is that devotion. And then the Surya Yogi. The Surya Yogi is the path of the sun, the path of the integral kind of ego. They integrate everything. So everything is acceptable to them. And there's God in everything, in the rock, in the tree, in the bird, in the person, and everywhere there is God. They kind of integrate everything, and they don't believe, I'm just a Buddhist, or I'm just a, Catholic, or they have very expansive mind. They're great teachers, and a lot of them are great yoga teachers, actually. So they try to bring equanimity to all religions. These are the paths. This is the path of Surya. And then we have the path of Tantra, the rebel path. And we're almost done. We're 4 minutes over. But the rebel path is the last one. And the rebel path is governed by Rahu and Ketu. So if you have Rahu and Ketu in your chart as the highest degree, then you're a rebel. You're here to break the paradigm. You're here to shake up old belief systems that don't support the earth or people anymore. And sometimes you can be, by nature, you can be a little bit irritating to people. Like there's a little friction. You carry around a little friction because you have to, in order to shake things up a little. You're just your nature. You might just spew out something to somebody that rubbed them the wrong way, but it woke them up a little and made them like reinvestigate their own paradigm, but you didn't really mean to do it because it's just your nature. So you're here to do that, and we need rebels, because if we didn't have them, then we'd all be doing the same old, and have the same rules, and nothing would change. So the rebels are here. They're fringe dwellers of society, too. They usually don't vote. They usually don't do anything mainstream. They kind of dwell on the fringes, and even in the classroom, they're on, in the back of the room, or they just aren't mainstream people. So
I have a quick question, Karyn. So I'm imagining that, like, you take your highest number planet, that's your path to liberation, and then each sequential lower number is like the influence of that planet in your life as well, but it's not your main path?
Yeah, we have all the paths. All of us like to do selfless service. All of us like the path of the senses. We all have this. But which one is your most predominant? It's really helpful to know and understand yourself and how you fit into the world. Or it's really helpful to know that about your mate, your spouse, so that you understand them. If somebody is really aggressive, like, for example, your mate may not understand why you're so aggressive about saving the seals, or, saving the whales, or whatever it is. It's because that is your path to liberation, and they have to allow you to do that. It's not something they should ever judge. Or if you have somebody who's, serving the country, and they have to go fight the war, and it's so important that they win the war, and they go off to Iraq and they're gone, and you can't judge them for that, because if that's their spiritual path, that's how they're going to become enlightened. And I really had to stop judging myself, because I always wondered, why do I like to read so much and learn so much and be, involved in books and consciousness? And I kind of judged myself, thinking that's shallow, and why don't I, do selfless service in the mentally retarded homes like my daughter? Why don't I help the old ladies across the street in the soup kitchen? And I just beat myself up about it, that I don't really want to do that. And I understand myself better, that it's not my path. My path is through the intellect, and I have to allow myself to have that. So the path to learning about yourself is really the greatest liberation. Who are you? And who are the people around you, and where do you fit in? Okay, so we'll end it there, and let's chant, if anyone can, with me, the chant of the Ganga. Deveshweshwari Bhagavati Gange Tribhuvana Tarini Tarala Tarange Shankara Moli Viharini Vimale Mama Materastam Tava Pajakamale Bhagirati Sukadaini Mata Tava Jala Mahima Nigame Kiata Naham Jane Tava Mahimanam Trahi Kripa Mahimama Jananam. Thank you, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas. Bye.